Hey everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. It may be cold outside, but the hottest man in DFS could just very well be my co-host, Trevor Hillstrom. You have been on fire, my man.
Yeah, I just had an epiphany last Saturday that when Walker was out, just to play a whole bunch of lineups, locking in Charbonnet and Grendo and Justin Jefferson. So I played about 480 lineups with them three locked, and it really worked out good for me.
You know what was crazy about last week? I had Garendo, I had Charbonnet, I had Josh Allen. But if you did, right, I won on FanDuel, not like you did, but you had to have Addison. You had to have certain guys because if you didn't, you could have put up big numbers. I mean, I might have won thousands on any other week, but on last week, you almost had to be perfect.
Yeah, and that's why I pretty much wanted to play them in 480 lineups to get them up there. Because you can find some 150 lineups rather cheap. You can do that. If Garendo or Charbonnet breaks a leg, you're screwed for 480 lineups. So you are taking a chance, but it is what it is. I felt this opportunity wasn't going to come again this year.
You know, it's funny. I actually backed off some of my play last week because I thought last week was too, I don't want to say easy, but Charbonnet and Garendo made too much sense on every lineup. So it was hard to, like this week's DFS, very hard to differentiate. Last week, it seemed like many lineups were very much similar, which made it tricky. So, I mean, great job. Really great job of how you killed it.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster because, I had a lot of Sam Darnold. And at one point between FanDuel and DraftKings, I was sitting at 36,000. And then I did have enough Allen, but you could just see the numbers go down and down and down. I was like, don't score no more. So then I was on the Kelsey train and that didn't really pan out because if Kelsey has a game, I'm winning 30, 40,000.
Isn't it crazy that you had Darnold and his game wasn't good enough? You needed the Allen game.
I thought I was locked in. I knew that there was one player on the slate to get me would be Allen, and I did have him in a lot of lineups. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, you live and you learn, and it's funny. I played Allen on FanDuel, not on DraftKings, even though I should have. The problem was on DraftKings. If I played Allen, then you're playing Calvin Austin and all these scrubby guys at 3,000, and your team's not good enough.
Yeah, the Garendo Charbonnet plays were so cheap enough much cheaper on FanDuel and DraftKings that you could be a lot more selective with your lineup.
All right, so let's take a first look at this week. I think that it's pretty. So, do you want to go through it by game, or you want to go through it by position? I'm good either way.
Let's go by game this time.
All right, let's do it. All right, Baltimore and the Giants. Baltimore's a 16-point favorite. Neighbors is we don't know. Tommy Cutlets is starting. So let me ask you this. Are you paying up for Lamar? Are you paying up for Henry? Are you paying up for Andrews? Or are you just going to fade it?
The only real interest I would have is Henry because I think he could have this really big game. I mean, Lamar could too, but are they going to push for offense? Or are they just going to be running the football the whole second half? I think we can find some better plays in Lamar, even though, you do run the risk he blows it up. But, I kind of like Zay Flowers too. You haven't heard from him much. And
How much is Zay Flowers?
I think he's around 6,000.
Oh, he is 6,000. Say is interesting. I feel like I get the Henry thing and paying up. He'll be low owned, be in that 8 to 10% range, my guess. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like, I don't know. I'm not thrilled. I'm okay.
In his big games where he scores 25 plus points, he does usually get a few catches, and he might not get any catches this week.
Right. He needs 2 catches for 80 yards.
Yeah. So.
All right, Jacksonville against the Jets. This is a 3.5-point spread. I kind of like your guy, Aaron Rodgers. Kidding. I kind of like Garrett Wilson. I kind of think that Rodgers is on the FU tour where he's just going to throw up some points and maybe look for a job next year.
Yeah, he's always padding his stats throwing the football. So, the running game, it's a good matchup for the running backs, but I'm not playing the running backs. But I do have interest in Adams or Wilson. Wilson. One of those guys should pop.
Right. I don't like Braylon Allen. And it's funny. I almost at the very last second wanted to play Isaiah Davis because he catches the ball. right? I mean, he looked better than Braylon Allen did, Trevor.
Yeah, he did. He looked pretty good. So he could be worth an interest if you play a lot of lineups like I do. He'll make a lineup or make some lineups. But if you're playing just a handful, I wouldn't play him. No.
All right, our friend Permar asks a question. Doc, who am I benching? Jonathan Taylor against Denver, Ramondre Stevenson against Arizona, Braylon Allen, Sincere McCormick, London Neighbors, Mooney, or Thielen. What are you thinking, Trevor?
For the running backs, I mean Allen and McCormick. If you're only starting 2 running backs, I think you want to start Taylor and Stevenson this week.
Agreed.
Little interest in McCormick, but I don't know. Wide receivers wise, you're going to go with London.
I don't love Mooney on the road in Las Vegas. Do you? He just needs to bench one. He needs to bench one. Did you bench Allen, McCormick?
Do you want to play 2 wide receivers from?
I'd rather play Sincere McCormick.
I'm blacking out here.
I see that. What's going on? Stay with me. Come on. Tell Sasha not to eat the wiring.
I have no idea.
I would think
I wouldn't bench Thielen, and I wouldn't bench London.
No, for sure. He only needs to bench one. So I think I'm not benching McCormick at all. I think I'm going to bench Mooney. I think I might bench Mooney.
Yeah, I think you can bench Mooney. Yeah, Mooney out of that bunch. So one out of that whole group?
Yeah, out of that whole group.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do, Permar, because listen, I think it's going to be a Kyle Pitts week. I know, don't be on me, but Pitts has a very good matchup in this one, so I think I'll do that. All right, let's get back to our what we were talking about before. So the Washington and New Orleans. Washington's a 7.5-point favorite on the road. I see your eyes light up. Jaden Daniels, Noah Brown could be out for the year. Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin. I think these guys are men of interest. And maybe the defense against Saints who are going to have Rattler or Hainer. That could be heinous.
I like all of that. I think you can play Robinson. You can play McLaurin, and of course Daniels for sure. And the Washington defense looks really good. I picked them up in a lot of playoff leagues this week, streaming them.
Trevor, let me ask you a strategy question. Are you ever the type of person that would play Daniels, Robinson, and McLaurin and try to get like 70, 80 points that way?
Maybe in the game with Washington, where you think where all the volume is going, it's got to be those 3 guys. You would think in this game. Usually not, but in this situation, maybe because of the volume. You know who it's going.
Is it a high enough scoring game, or could the Saints be so bad that it could be like 23-3 and we don't need it?
You always run that risk, but I could see Washington scoring in the 30s too.
Okay. All right. I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea. All right. Cincinnati against Tennessee. This is a 46.5 spot here. So Vegas likes this game a little bit. Joe Burrow has been fantastic going up against his old offensive coordinator, Callahan. I know you're not playing. But I take that back. Tony Pollard might be in play. Calvin Ridley might be in play. The Bengals stink on defense. Are you playing in this game? Are you playing guys in this game?
Yeah, I might play some Ridley. Jamar Chase he's been awesome. It's hard not to play him, and I like T. Higgins. So we're talking about building lineups, and we were talking about what was the first game. One of those receivers going to pop. I'm going to split some of the Jets receivers with some of the Bengal receivers and kind of mix and match them in lineups because somebody's going to pop from each of those games. Higgins, and you got Chase Brown too. He catches so many passes and gets so much volume. Another game where all the volume is going. It's going to Chase, Higgins, and Brown, but more so Chase.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Titans led up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 7th fewest receptions to opposing running backs. The 7th few. So this may not be the Chase Brown catch 7 or 8 passes game.
Titans play a lot of teams that stink offensively. I'm sticking with the guys that are good.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. And I agree with everything you said about Chase, Higgins, Chase Brown. I get it. But if you're playing single entry or if you're playing 3 entry like I do, can you play this game? Or is it better if you're playing 150 lineups because you can mix and match guys better?
I think you can make a single entry lineup with this game, sure. And then I would bring it back with Ridley. I think the Bengals can't cover anybody either. Although you don't know what you're going to get from Will Levis week to week. He'll score 24 or 8.
Would you play the Cincinnati defense?
No.
Okay. Can't blame you there. All right. Let's take a look at Miami and Houston. Now, listen, I kind of like Miami this week, Trevor. Houston can't cover anybody in the passing game. They're pretty good stopping the run. But, man, I have – sugar plums dancing in my head. I see Tua throwing a Tyreek about 5 times and Jonnu Smith catching a bunch of passes. I could see this being a big week for Miami.
If you watched the game last week, Tyreek had that sparkle that he hadn't had in a while. He looked pretty good, and he was even open on a couple more plays for touchdowns that Tua missed him on, especially in overtime there. He would have been a 40-yard touchdown pass. So I like Hill a lot. I like Jonnu too. I mean, how can you not like him? He's been so great. Even when he has 0 going into overtime, he finds a way to get 13 points.
Now, let me ask you a question here. Maybe you're going to tell me the same thing you just did. The Texans have allowed the second fewest receiving yards to opposing tight ends. Does that now look? The Jaguars may have had Brenton Strange in. The Colts have Kylan Granson. Yeah. I know there's a lot of crap. But does that make you think Waddle and Tyreek or Chan more than Jonnu? Because they didn't go to Jonnu at all until overtime.
That's true too. I think you can play Jonnu in a lineup or two. His price is getting up there though. I would prefer the receivers.
Okay.
And then on the Texans side, I really like Mixon. I mean, they should have tried. They have to run that ball down Miami's throat if they want to win.
I do. I agree with that. And look, if Mixon is running well, then you would think Tua to Tyreek should do well. Would you play Tua, or do you think? I mean, did we learn our lesson last week that you have to have a mobile quarterback to win big money?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to do with Tua unless he's on a short slate, like a Thanksgiving Day slate. But yeah, when there's 12 games going, there's 24 quarterbacks. Tua is not going to make many of my lineups at all.
All right. Kansas City against Cleveland. Kansas City goes on the road. You got Jameis Winston there. I'm going to give you a couple of guys I really like. I really like Xavier Worthy in this game. I really like David Njoku in this game. Why Worthy? They play a ton of man coverage, and they let up a lot of explosive plays. If Worthy was ever going to boom, this could be that week.
Yeah, he's definitely worth a flyer. You go back to Kelsey against the Browns. I prefer Njoku. I think Njoku is going to have a big game. I really do. And I don't know if you can play Winston. Maybe you can. He's cheap enough. But
is Njoku a must play?
He's not a must play like we saw last week with the 2 backs. But I mean, he's a solid play. I mean, he's going to be in 30% of my lineups.
I think I would be very shocked if I'm not going double tight end this week. I would think I'm going to go double tight end.
I was looking at that myself. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of double tight ends in my lineups.
And I have a guy that most people won't have at tight end that I'm all in on. All right.
I got a couple guys circled here.
All right. Well, maybe you'll see. Maybe my guy knows your guy. Yeah. All right. Dallas, Carolina. I think I would have liked this game more if it was in Dallas. For some reason, Dallas doesn't always travel well. Carolina doesn't put up a lot of points at home. It's just one of those things where Vegas sees this as a 43 spot. I do like Rico Dowdle. I do like Adam Thielen, but I don't know if I'm going to see a lot of points today. How are you approaching this game, if at all?
All Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's going to have a good game. I can't see why he won't. Carolina's actually played pretty good in the last 3 weeks. They've lost to 3 playoff teams by a score or less. I mean, they had the Eagles on the ropes. Leggett missed that. They could have called that a catch to take the lead with 20 seconds left against Philadelphia. They lost to the Chiefs on the last second field goal, and they lost to was it Tampa late? They'd be fumbled in overtime. So they're playing much better football, and Dallas's defense stinks. So
And Overshawn is out.
yes, he is out. So I really, really like Hubbard for sure.
Let me ask you this. Let's say Chuba Hubbard gets steamed to 38 to 40%. I don't care. I'm still playing him. Agree?
I'm playing him because he's 6,500. He's playing $8,000 ball.
Right. So I'm all in on Chuba. I couldn't agree more. By the way, it really pained me that Leggett dropped that.
Well, I wanted the Eagles to lose.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought that I feel badly because I think he's a good kid and I think he's a good receiver. I think he needs to work on his hands a little bit, but this dude was wide open. I mean, Carolina deserved that win. They did. They deserved it.
Young it could have been a little bit better of a throw too.
It's a little short. That's true.
Little off, but it is what it is.
All right, New England and Arizona. If there's a game that could be sneaky, I think this could be that game. This is a 46 spot.
Yeah.
Right?
High for a Patriot game.
It is high for a Patriot game. The Patriots play a lot of man coverage. Marvin Harrison cost me $15,000 last week, Trevor. I don't know if you knew that. I put a $25 parlay that would have paid me $15,000, and I needed Marvin Harrison to get 80 receiving yards, and he got me 43. I hit on the other 5.
Ooh.
But I think he comes back this week and does something because he thrives against man coverage.
You're going back to – I'm not playing much of him at all because he's just been disappointing, but he does have that ability. You know, just like last week we talked about the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game when I said, you know, it screamed over. They had played earlier in the year. They played a highest-scoring game. They were both coming off highest-scoring games, and everybody was screaming over. Nobody's playing the over in this Patriot-Arizona game, I wouldn't think. So this game's starting to tell me over.
Now, if it is over, and I totally agree with that. Do we like the Drake May side because he can run and create a little havoc? Do we like Kyler Murray to sling it around a little bit? I mean, Trey McBride hasn't scored a touchdown in centuries.
Yeah, you have to like May a little bit because he's cheap, and when you got a total like this, he does spark interest. Especially, I think he can run a touchdown in this week. The problem with him is who do you match him with? I mean, do you play him with Hunter Henry? Arizona is usually pretty good against the
buck naked. I play him buck naked.
Buck naked. So there is some interest for Stevenson. I mean, the running backs don't do that bad against Arizona. Arizona side, you look at McBride and Harrison, and that's maybe Connor.
That's an interesting question about Stevenson. Stevenson's going to be he's 5,900. When they're winning, Stevenson's thriving.
Yes. Yeah.
And Zach Charbonnet is still running. He's literally still running against Arizona.
Right.
Maybe Stevenson could be a really good play, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm liking him a little bit more, but you know, we'll see what the article brings on Saturday. And by the way, most of the guys that won the Million Maker were in that article last Saturday.
Dude, you know what I love? Can I tell you something? Everything that you said, you put in your article. And I'm going to just speak, you know, I've been doing this for a very long time. Nothing bothers me more than guys who show their winning green screens, but they don't tell you, they said, oh, my picks were there, and their picks don't look anything like their teams. Your article looked exactly like your team. Good for you. All right, King to Icon has a question. Would you drop Tank Bigsby for Kendra Miller? I say no way. Tank Bigsby looked great.
I have really no opinion on it. I guess I'd keep Bigsby. Yeah, because Kamara isn't going anywhere, and Miller's not going to get enough volume, even though he scored that touchdown last week.
That was a touchdown because the Giants couldn't tackle, not because Miller was. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Tampa Bay against the Chargers. Man, Tampa Bay. Look, so a couple of things about the Chargers. First of all, they looked lost without Ladd McConkey in the first half. Lost.
Yeah.
Secondly, Tampa, you can throw on Tampa, but you can't throw on the Chargers. Baker Mayfield is going to struggle because that defense is very good. So, I mean, I like Rashad White a little bit if Bucky Irving doesn't play. I think Rashad is definitely in play, but I think Justin Herbert is in play. I think Ladd McConkey's in play. And my stone cold lock might be a dude named Stone Smart, Trevor.
Yeah, Stone smart. Yeah, because Disley is out. I think McConkey's a great play if he's playing. You just got to hope he makes it through the game. Um, he's going to catch eight balls for 100 yards if he's playing. There's no way Tampa can cover him. And didn't they just lose another defensive back this week? Diggs?
They did. Now, could you? I'm just throwing this out. Could you do a Herbert McConkey Smart lineup and then figure it out after that?
You could. There's no doubt about it.
Because that's pretty cheap.
Because the tight ends. Yeah, I like some of the tight ends, but besides Njoku, I mean McBride and Kelsey, there's nothing that's popping out at you. So a guy like Stone Smart is a really good play, I think.
I hope he doesn't get steamed. I really don't, because I'm so playing this dude. Yeah. I'm playing him everywhere.
No, I hope he does great, because I'm going to play a lot of them too. So
I just feel like with Herbert, because you can't the Chargers are not running the ball well anyway. B, you can't run on the Tampa Bay. So C, if I go Herbert, McConkey, and Smart, I'm pretty much getting most of the action, and then I can just fill in with guys around that.
Yep, I like it.
Do you like Rachaad White if Bucky Irving's out?
I do. I really like him because they're going to throw the ball to him 5-6 times. He's going to have 6 catches.
Do you like if Bucky Irving is playing, which it seems like he might be? Let me just check on this. Does that change your opinion? Would you play Bucky?
I would pass on both.
So if Irving is out, Rachaad is in.
Yeah.
And if if Bucky's in, they're both out.
Both out.
Got it. Okay.
You agree?
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. But Rachaad White, can I tell you what I would do? And I'm going to sacrifice this. I'm going to sacrifice Njoku because I'd rather play Stone Smart for the money. And then I would get White and who else? And I got to get Chuba Hubbard in there for sure.
Yes.
Have to. All right. Here's the one, Trevor. Buffalo, Detroit, 54.5.
Woo.
Woo.
I think that's going under.
Does Sasha think this is the game that we fade? Or does this game go 34-31 and it blows over?
It's a fade for me. I don't know. I just think it's an unders game. Detroit's not going to be able to throw the ball as well as you want them to get this over 54. I think they're going to try to pound that football. You got 2 running backs. You got to pound it against the Buffalo Bills. You don't want to be throwing all over the place. They don't have that type of skill outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, Tim Patrick looks fine sometimes. Jameson has some big games. On the other side with Buffalo, Cook is out. You're not playing Cook against Detroit's run defense. I'm out on that. But, you kind of have to – like Shakur or Cooper, one of those guys is going to pop. I think Cooper might have a good week this week. He had 14 targets last week. Detroit, you can pass on Detroit, and with a guy like Josh Allen who can extend plays. Allen's going to run for a touchdown and to make the points. So
what if he runs for 3?
Yeah, I can't imagine. This isn't the Rams defense. I don't think the Lions defense are as good as they rank, but they're not as bad as the Rams.
So here's my quick analysis. Let me see if you agree. I think the Achilles heel to the Bills is their run defense. It's a bad matchup for them. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to run 40 times for 136 yards, maybe more.
Yeah, definitely. They have to do that, and Campbell's willing to do it. So I'll be rooting for Buffalo, of course, because I need to. Yeah.
Now, here's a question. Would you play Gibbs or would you play Montgomery? I'm leaning Montgomery. Who are you leaning?
Montgomery, because he's the pounder.
Right.
You could play them both maybe, but you're spending a lot of money to have it all tied into there. But you'd have a lot of leverage if you could find a way to do it. But with Hubbard
this is why I might not play Njoku, because I'm definitely playing Chuba. If Bucky Irving is out, I'm definitely playing Rachaad White. And I really want to play David Montgomery because in a 54.5 game, I can't imagine Montgomery not finding the end zone.
He scores just about every week. I mean, every week you send me a text on Saturday with the numbers on who's favored to get a touchdown, and Montgomery's in it every week. So
every week. He's in there every week. All right. Indianapolis against Denver. This is a 44. This just feels like stay away from this game, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, if you look at it, Knicks might be a man of interest. Sutton's been okay. Veli, if you're looking for a really cheap wide receiver that could score a touchdown, Veli has some interest, but
Vele's a great call. How much is Vele?
what was he at? I go through all these numbers here. 4,200.
Yeah, do you know why he's so good? He's really good against zone coverage, and they play a lot of cover 3.
Yeah.
So that could be a Vele. I mean, Vele is a really good play.
It's a sneaky play. He's a guy that could get you 6 for 60 and a touchdown. Then or even more, 6 for 8. He can get you 20 points.
What about Permar saying Marvin Mims Jr. off a bye?
I know he looked good in that last game but I don't think he was out there for a whole lot of snaps, was he?
No, they barely play him. But I'm at 5,300. I'm not touching Marvin Mims.
No, and the last game against the Browns, they give, like you said, they give up big plays. Yeah. You're playing against a different defense this week with the Colts. It's more of a Valley type of get it through the zone type of game. I do have some interest in Taylor from the Colts, but not huge interest. He's the guy that I think that could do well that nobody has, but he hasn't really done it this year. So I don't know why I feel that way. It's just one of those gut feelings.
All right, let me ask you about Pittsburgh against Philadelphia. This is a 42.5. And let me tell you something. Dan Orlovsky did a really great job, Trevor. He showed how Jalen Hurts was not going to A.J. Brown, who was wide open. He was going to the guy in the flat and not looking downfield. If I'm A.J. Brown, dude, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, he is pissed. Yeah, I watched that too. I was like, gee, now they're squeaking. A.J. Brown might be a good play this week.
Against Joey Porter?
I don't think he's going to follow him the whole time. He might. But yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Nobody's going to play Brown. Brown will be under 5% owned, I bet. So, and I think Philadelphia smacks them. What's that?
Say that again.
I think Philadelphia smacks them. So I think Philly's going to do pretty well in this game. So,
do you like Saquon in this game?
Yeah, I like Saquon a little bit, but I don't. I like him if you're playing seasonal. You got to play him. But DFS, he's pretty expensive for this type of game. But he's always got to be considered, no matter the matchup, in some regard. Do
you like Pat Freiermuth?
A little bit, not huge. I just don't like
if Pickens is out, it's going to be a problem because I don't know how the Steelers move the ball.
Pickens I think he's going to be out. And, Pittsburgh had 267 yards of offense last week against the Browns. They should have never won that game by 2 scores.
I agree. I totally agree with that. All right. Let's look at the Sunday night game for the Sunday Night Hammer. And I want to talk to you about seasonal. Green Bay against Seattle. Let's say you have Jordan Love. Let's say you've got the Packers receivers. Can you feel good about playing any Packer? How do you approach? Let me ask you this. Would you rather have Jordan Love and the Packers or Sam Darnold and the Vikings against the Bears? If you had to choose which offense was going to be better, what would you choose?
Well, you're taking Sam Darnold and the Vikings because they've got the guys that they have the big play guys that are going to can score 25, 30 points. The Packers spread it around a lot. You don't know really who the ball is going to. Is Reed? Is going to be Dobbs? Dobbs even playing this week. You got Watson. Seattle, I said it last week, they haven't given up more than 280 yards in a month, and they did it again last week. Didn't give up over 280 yards of offense last week. So they haven't been giving they were getting killed early in the year defensively because they were so banged up. Their healthy defense are playing so much better. Packers have finally figured out to feed Jacobs though in the second half of the season, where they kind of struggle with that at times. So Jacobs is a little bit interesting. Kraft's a little interesting. Once again, Kenneth Walker had to figure out what's going on with that dude, because if he is out on FanDuel, Charbonnet is almost a lock play again.
Lock button. Lock button.
6,800. That's still too cheap for him. That's like equivalent to 5,800 on DraftKings because of the cap. I mean, if Walker's out, Charbonnet might just hit 100% of my lineups.
Oh yeah. I would look just from the opportunity, right? Just 20 touches, totally worth it.
And in the last 5 weeks, Green Bay has given up the third most fantasy points to backs.
Right. I think Charbonnet. So, there's a lot of, we like Chuba, we like Charbonnet, we like Rashad White potentially. There's some running backs that are attractive guys.
Yeah, Charbonnet would top the list. Charbonnet and Chuba top the list if Walker's out. I mean, them two guys. I like Dowdle too a little bit, but I don't know if I trust. Like you said, I don't know if I trust Dallas on the road. Their passing game is so terrible. CeeDee Lamb, he lands on that shoulder wrong. He's going to be out. He was unheard of in the second half last week.
I just don't trust Dallas on the road. I never trust Dallas on the road. Something happens.
No. That used to be Minnesota's problem. You have those dome teams and they go on the road and they just stink. So,
yeah. Give me a lineup. You put one, I'll put one together. Let's see what we come up with. Who beats who?
Oh boy, I should have made the lineup earlier. I was making a basketball lineup, which I said I was never going to do again. But
I do mine on the fly, so don't worry about it.
So when you're up money, you kind of do things a little bit different sometimes. But I'm going to go with Herbert.
All right.
I'm going to trust that McConkey's going to play.
So let's get Ladd in there.
Trying to find a cheap defense this week. I think when I looked at DFS Hero, I think they have the Giants defense up there. And I'm like, I'm not playing that.
No. Don't laugh. I have a defense that I might play. Don't laugh. Carolina.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop them. I was hitting the button when you said that.
All right, so you have Herbert, McConkey, and Carolina. What else?
Tyreek.
For sure. Chuba?
Let's see here. I'm going with Chase Brown, I think.
And Chuba or not Chuba?
Chuba's in there, yes. Chuba's automatic.
All right, so here's what I have. Herbert, Brown, Chuba, Ladd, Tyreek, Carolina. I need a wide receiver, a tight end, and a flex.
My tight end is going to be Njoku.
All right. So you got about 4,400. I'm
going to go with Bailey.
Who?
Bailey.
Oh, that's a nice one.
I think. That makes getting this other receiver in here pretty bad. I'm going to scratch Bailey. I'm going to put in Smart at tight end in the flex.
So you have 6,200 for a wide receiver.
I can't make up my mind between Shakir or Flowers.
I would play Shakir.
Yeah, I'm going with Shakir. So that's
a pretty good lineup, dude. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah, he's going to get the targets in Detroit. Detroit's going to get 54-point spread total. So
the only thing that I might do differently, because I really like this lineup. I mean, if I had to pick my own, the only thing I could see me doing differently is taking out Chase Brown and putting in Rashad White.
Yeah.
And then taking that money and maybe upgrading Shakir, or maybe moving Stones. So I'm just going to change two things. Even though I love Njoku, I really do love Njoku. If I move Smart to tight end and I move White to there, I could have 6,700 for a receiver or flex. So I can get up to Pollard, Connor, Brian Robinson.
Boy, we did cover all the games. Wow.
Maybe Connor. I don't know. I still think I think your lineup was actually better. I do. I think your lineup was better. Because Njoku legitimately could go 8 for 80 in a touchdown.
Oh, I think so. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. And Jerry Jeudy, he's becoming top fantasy asset in a lot of ways. Kansas City has given up the 24th passing yards in the last 3 weeks. So,
yeah. Look, I think the Chargers may have won that game if they had Ladd McConkey. They just looked lost in the first half.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I was just hoping for one touchdown by Kelsey in that fourth quarter. One.
And then you'd be my rich friend.
Browns defense all day by Heat. Yeah, you could go that
Against
way.
Mahomes?
But I just don't trust him.
Yeah. All right, who's the Trust and Trevor play of the week?
Besides Chuba Hubbard, I think is Chuba Hubbard too easy?
It's a little easy. Give me one that's a little harder.
Well, it's got to be somebody from my lineup then that I can't just. Well, I'm looking at my basketball lineup. Let's see here.
There's too many guys I like this week. He mentioned Garrett Wilson. I like Garrett Wilson. You mentioned Vele, Stone Smart, David Njoku. So many guys we like.
Hill's pretty easy. I'll go with, like, if you're looking for a flyer wide receiver, I'm going to stick with Vele.
I like it. I'm going Stone Smart. I'm going to stone cold lock for me. Cheap and in.
Sounds good to me. I think we got a few more weeks to make money, and the playoffs is going to be. You got some good slates when the playoffs start too. So,
especially in the beginning, it gets a little tougher at the end, but the first couple of weeks are nice.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, on Friday night, you want to join us Friday night? Or are you busy?
I play darts on Friday nights.
Sheesh, get your priorities straight. All right, now have fun. All right. Trevor's playing darts. We're doing Friday Night Lights with me, Willie Walls, and Odell Blocker. Saturday, you can catch Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. And then on Sunday, we're doing Discord Sunday morning, as always, for drroto.com. So for me and Trevor, and of course, Sasha, who's our special guest, is she somewhere?
She's close.
She's close. We tell you to be well and take care.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.